This is an impossible jump. Wherever you are feeling, remember this. Whatever you're feeling, when you're feeling a negative emotion or any emotion, whatever you're feeling, all you want to do is feel a little better. Whatever you're feeling, you want to feel a little better, a little relief. If you're depressed, wouldn't it be better if you felt anger? Because that's a little bit better than depressed. Yeah, I mean, if you're depressed, you actually...
All right, welcome to the vlog and podcast. Today we are here with James Stephan-Usypchuk.
Cool.
Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So James, we are with Antoine from the Antoine Airoldi Show and myself, Hugo from the Road to the IPO. Today's podcast is in English, so we have a great guest and James. James, so for those that don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I've become one of the top Facebook advertising experts in Canada. I'm the founder and president of JSU Solutions. We are a digital marketing ad tech company, and we've developed a software platform that allows us to generate a lot of leads for enterprise level clients at a reduced cost month per month.
Cool. So before we go talk about social media and entrepreneurship, I want to talk about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So Antoine has some question really that he wants to ask you about that.
So how was your childhood, and especially when you had to fight cancer?
It was a little tough. I mean, when I was 2, I was diagnosed with a Wilms tumor on my one of my kidneys. I always forget which one, right? So if I ever say the left and it's the right, my right kicks me, and if it's the left, well, the left kicks me. It was tough because when you're at that age, you remember more sensations and feelings that you're surrounded with. So I remember a lot of grief. I remember a lot of, like my parents were constantly worried. They would look at their child and afraid, like, would he make his next birthday? Like, well, what would he do when he's growing up? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to have a normal life? And so I remember a lot of that fear, that anxiety more than the actual symptoms. I lost my hair 4 times. I had 18 rounds of chemo radiation. I had multiple surgeries. They removed the kidney. But more, what I remember the most was living it through my parents. And a lot of people feel like, oh, the poor kids, like they must have been through so much. But really, it's really heartbreaking to feel powerless when you look at your parents who are looking at you. They're supposed to be the strong ones, and they are, but they feel sad. You're trying to comprehend why. And so when I grew up in a hospital, right? So a lot of the friends that you're supposed to make in childhood and daycare, mine all died, right? Like, think about it. Like I had a friend who was 7 years old. He was sitting right next to me in another hospital bed, and one night his grandmother was holding him in her arms, and his parents just went home to shower, and they were coming back. And at one point, I just remember nurses screaming, saying "cold blue, cold blue," and the kid passed away in his grandmother's arms from a massive heart attack at 7. So, as much as I'm blessed and privileged, I've seen a lot of death, and especially young. So that was particularly hard to grow up with. Really, a very turbulent and I wouldn't say traumatic childhood, because some people have lived much worse, but not creating those bonds of friendship that a lot of people have. That's a bit a taste of what it was like. It was a little intense.
So wow.
Yeah, sorry, a little heavy. I know.
No, that's okay. We really like to talk really about the person itself. So this is really good because people that are gonna see this and listen to the podcast, they're gonna know more than only the entrepreneurs. So that's what we want to do. And I also know that you work with foundations.
Yeah. So I mean, it's believe it or not, when I had cancer, it really it fueled my life,
Yeah.
right? When I was 5, I was approached by this woman named Maria Reich. So she was like a super entrepreneur. She literally was this 80-year-old woman who would go and just constantly raise money for this foundation of stars. And at the time, there was a telethon, which was basically you go on TV, you present a check on C2 or CFCF at the time. And so there was Randy Tiemann, and there was like Alouettes players and Habs players on TV. And so Maria would always present like $1 million check, and she's just this superstar who would go in, even if she got a parking ticket or she got pulled over for speeding, and the cop was writing her ticket. She says, "Listen, you can make that ticket $500 as long if you donate $250 to the foundation. I'll pay it tomorrow, or something like that." She was like that, and I was just like, I was blown away. And so she heard my story. And she approached me and says, "How would you like to give back?" Right? Because I had just been removed. The cancer was just removed from me. I was starting to go into remission, and she was like, "Well, how would you feel about actually giving back to a cause?"
Yeah.
And I felt like this was the first time I actually could start taking the fight to cancer rather than fighting against cancer, and fighting for the kids and the friends that I lost. And so I said, "Yes, of course, I would love to." And that was really the birth of me being an entrepreneur, being surrounded by such type A motivational people, and just the drive and the motivation of going in every day and working on something bigger than yourself to help a cause, right? Yeah. And so when I was 5 and I was 6, I learned about that, and
sorry about that.
Okay.
So yeah.
So when I was 5 and 6, we really like started off quickly. Like I raised my first $1,000, and I would go like during lunch hour, recess in school, and I would sell like stuffed teddy bears, you name it, anything and everything. That was like sales, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was like, "Yo, you have a girlfriend, right? 7 years old. She needs this stuff. It's $4, $4, but the best $4 you ever spend." And it's like that was like that's when I like started living, and that ingrained in me those abilities of networking and connecting with people and helping and wanting to really give back, and it was a component of sales, it was a component of negotiation. And
so you started raising money for the foundations, and that's where you developed the skills as an entrepreneur?
That's right. It's when it's all started. It was really those core skills of just doing it every day, every week. We'd even do things on weekends just to kind of to raise awareness, but also to generate funds. And so I did that for almost 12 years straight, right? Right up until I was halfway into high school. I raised over $30,000 just to keep it going, and that really taught me a lot of work ethic. And it was not necessarily something that you were like, "Okay, I want to do this and I want to be an entrepreneur." It was just something you did because it was who you were, and it really molded. And then my mom she was an entrepreneur for 12 years. She had her own catering business. Like it was really. I was always surrounded by the entrepreneurism, so starting and donating to the Foundation of Stars was really where it all started for me.
So do you believe that it's very important to raise money for the foundations to help find solutions to diseases, cancers, and everything? Because people are watching this, and sometimes they may say that, "Oh, we don't know if the money is going to the foundation, so I don't want to give money." But like you say, it's really important to raise money.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every foundation, needs a source of revenue, right? They have corporate sponsors, but also it's events, and there's the foundation of costs, right? But they're non-profit for a reason, right? They need to cover the costs of running events, and there's only so much that corporate sponsors can give. But at the same time, these foundations drive, and if they're smart, and I know like the Foundation of Stars, they have this, they'll actually show you budget allocation every year. Where did it go? How much did it spend? Which vertical did it impact? And so I feel like foundations that really can illustrate that, they kind of erase those concerns, and they kind of just make it clear that, oh, okay, well, $2 million went here, $8 million went here, and this was the logic, and this is how it happened. So I would say now we're at an age where there's a lot more transparency with charities, and it's really important to understand that if you donate to a cause, that you have to do it with a bit of altruism, right? You can't really, you do your due diligence and your homework, but really, if you speak to any charity, they'll be happy to tell you where the money's going and how it's being spent, because they're not there for themselves. They're there to help people who can't help themselves, right?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about your business here. So how did that get started?
So it's a funny story, actually. I was a designer in high school, and I was doing a lot of therapy design. graphic design, and I was having a lot of fun, and I started experimenting with Twitter, and it just came out. Right? Ashton Kutcher was like, "Oh, this thing's gonna be huge." It's just like, yeah. I remember he was like the first influencer, right? And so I just started freelancing a little bit here and there, and I worked at Bombardier and Sun Life in my career, right? And so I got a sense of the corporate world, but I was freelancing here and there. And then I got approached by a company in Texas, and they're like, "Hey, what do you charge for what you're doing?" Because I was playing around with ads, and I was A/B testing like anybody else, and I was like, it's fun. I applied for a Facebook advertising license back when that was a thing. Now it's like, if you're in kindergarten, you have 2 thumbs, you can apply for it, so it's super easy. But so I did that, and we jumped on board, and they said, "What do you charge?" I'm like, I don't know, like $200. Like I don't charge anything. It was like very naive that way, And so they're like, "Well, we have 2 people that are getting paid like 6 figures, like $120 a year, and then your results are here." And I was like, "Holy smokes!" And so she's like, "Yeah, you should probably think about an agency." And then I had a friend of mine, Eric Tung. He's an influencer, also in Texas. He was, we had a Skype call, and he was like, "You should really think about an agency." And I was like, "Really?" And at that time, I think I was 20 or 21, and like the agency idea was so. Well, it was not just out there. It was like it was taboo. It was like the El Dorado. Like it doesn't exist. And if it did exist, well, you're just not established enough to ever get there. So because there was like all these hurdles of like, okay, well, there's so many other agencies, and how are you gonna get your money, and how are you gonna get clients, like, the whole thing.
That was around 2009, 10.
Yeah, I was around. It was 2010, I think.
Yeah,
2009. Yeah. And so when I started this, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. I have nothing to lose. I had just started college, I think, at the time, and so I was just like, let's play around.
Okay.
I eventually got my psychology degree, and I was like, okay, like I can actually apply this to what I'm doing every day, and merge this with ads, and really get something going. So I started a team of 1. I was in my basement. It was just like every great story starts in a basement somewhere, right? So I was just doing ads, and I was working part-time for another company, and they said, "Yeah, we're paying you, let's say, whatever it was, $2,000 a month." And I was like, "Yeah, well, now I have a roster of 6 clients, and they're all paying me $2,000 a month. So unless you can kind of like up it, like I have to leave." And though that's kind of how it all started. And then, fast forward. 7 years now, we're at a point where we have a very healthy roster of 35 clients, and I would say 4 years ago what we did was we took the principles of psychology and design and content and storytelling, and we realized that there is a way to streamline what it is people see, how often they see it, and if they like it. So we created something called the conversion matrix, which is the software I was alluding to. And what it does is it creates buyer persona specific. So basically, if I'm person A, person B, person C, each person responds to something different. Exactly. One could be a parent, one could be a single mom, and one could be a high-end executive. They all want to see different content, and they'll react to it differently. And so it creates these little micro ecosystems for them to experience content, and based off of their behavior, we show them another piece of content, and another, and another, and another, until we feel or we see the data and it tells us they're ready to buy. And then we show them a call to action that says, "Here you go. This is the brand you've been following for 2 weeks. Here's a call to action to buy a ticket for an event, or buy a ticket for software, or I don't know, register your kid for kindergarten, or whatever the objective is." And so ever since we did that, like, my business blew up. Yeah, because that was, now you're getting into advertising technology, now you're getting into like the enterprise level clients that are really the Kellogg's and the Fruit Loops and the high-end brands of the world, and this is stuff that really nobody had thought of before, which was cool. There are other automation softwares out there, but this was a unique approach, and it kind of just cemented my reputation, right? I got featured on Hootsuite, I got featured on Adespresso. I went to London for a couple of clients, conference, and they were all just wanting to know how it worked. How can you do it? They want to see, what it did. They want to see case studies. When I showed it to them, they're like, "We have to put you in front of our, 50,000 plus customers." And so they put me next to Neil Schaefer, John Loomer and Mari Smith, which are like the top Facebook ad experts in the world.
Yeah.
And the workshop / conference I gave had the most engagement, period.
So that's how you became the top ad expert in Canada.
Yeah. Well, that plus I've just been doing it probably the longest,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay,
Because there was, I think there's one other buddy of mine, Dan Morris, I think, or Derek something. I can't remember. He's gonna totally kill me. He's in Vancouver.
Okay.
And, we started maybe a year. Like I started a year before him. And apart from that, there were really no ad specialists, right? There was really just the Mari Smith, the John Loomer, those 2-3 anchors in the industry, and apart from that, nothing. And
So for people that watching this and listen to this podcast, so your company is JSU Solutions.
Mhm.
So maybe they want to know where they can contact you, any platform are you on? And
Yeah, I mean, people are really close to me. They know to text me, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
there's no other way to reach me. You guys definitely know that.
Yeah, we tried to call.
Yeah, I tried to call, email, just not happening. The best way to reach me, I guess, if you don't know who I am, is to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a Facebook ads guy. I am obsessed with LinkedIn.
Okay.
I love it so much. We get a lot of our leads that come through there. I just love the content. I love the people there. So LinkedIn's a great place to connect with me. You can check out our website, JSUSolutions.com,
Cool.
or you can, I would say, just hook up with me on Facebook. And,
Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, so we have our company account, JSU Solutions, and we have mine, which is J-Usypchuk.
Yeah.
So I post a lot of whiteboard stuff and a lot of little entrepreneur tidbits.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's a little bit more personal.
So we are going to put all the links. You can contact James. And you were talking about the whiteboard. Because you also know as an entrepreneur, but also as an educator. And
Yeah.
you see on the background there's the whiteboard?
There it is, the famous whiteboard.
So why did you decide to really start doing that?
I've been kind of obsessed with this idea of giving value, right? And I hate the word value because it's such a freaking, it's a broad buzzword that nobody understands what it is, and I hate this because a lot of people say value and then they kind of hide it with like a link to buy something, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a double backhand slap. So what I said was, the best way for me, the best way to get leads, or the best way just to do anything, is just to help people with zero expectation.
Okay.
Just want to help and share. And if you share, that kind of altruism really creates and impacts change. And if you're the one impacting change, even if those people never reach out to you, that's okay. Because what I found is that this secondary ripple effect that happens always comes back in some way, shape, or form. 10x.
Cause and effect.
Always. So there was one day I was with my good friend Jesse Ostroff, who does biz dev for us, but also is my in-house videographer.
Okay.
He's more of an artist, but whatever. We were going through like all these different videos we were doing for another startup we have, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to find a way to help people, because people would just come into my office and I would just do the whiteboard thing, and that was it. Just like, good luck, off you go, free consultation, I'm happy to do it. And I was like, there has to be a one-to-many model working on more people. In comes the whiteboard. And I was like, I'm just going to put this on LinkedIn and see what happens. And I put a question out there saying, if you want me to talk about your industry, anything, just tell me what it is. I will workshop a strategy for you. And if it works and if you run with it, go for it. Just let me know, how much you like it, or that's fine. And so I did one video, and one video became 15 videos. And I was just like, holy smokes. So funny enough, I did the challenge of, if you give me these many topics before this date, I'll do them all by the end of August. So I did them all, I just need to edit them all, right? So I'm like, where are the videos? You're such a liar. I was like, well, shoot, do you know how long these things take to edit? So I'm on video 6, I think, and I was like, you're such a liar. I'm like, no. So I showed them my list. I'm like, look, you're number 7, you're number 12, like, I did it, it's done. It's just, and also the LinkedIn algorithm, like, how much video do you think I can post in one day? Like, it's not like feasible. So that was the challenge that got me all this traction of people saying, you're the whiteboard guy. I actually had a guy stop me on the street the other day. I was walking down Montreal, and he's like, I know you. I was like, okay. You do those whiteboard things on LinkedIn. I was like,
oh my god,
yeah. Weird. yeah, I'm friends with Jamie. I'm like, of course you are.
Okay, that's why.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
He's like,
isn't?
yeah, exactly. He's like, congratulations on the nomination. I'm like, thanks. He knew before I did. That was the weird part. I was like, what nomination? Then I went to there was this yeah, so I went to this barbecue with Jamie and Dr. Beck and Yan, and it was at the Karanta Group's suit shop.
Yes.
And James like, yeah, by the way, you've been nominated. I was like, did you check your email? Like, yeah, I didn't know email, but someone else told me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, but that's great. So it's just one of these, weird things where I started doing the whiteboard videos just to try and help people and just democratize the information that I know as far as I know, because they're just, I've done them and they're sitting on my shelf.
Yeah.
And I felt, if I can give it and it works, power to the people, and that's the way you should help. I feel entrepreneurs, you should really support each other. And just case in point with, with Influence United and with even with the Foundation of Stars, the Reach for the Stars event I did, and for the LinkedIn Town Hall Awards, that was really the beginning of the unification of the entrepreneur community in Montreal.
Yeah.
So I feel it's something you have to foster and take care of. And even what Beryl did, or you guys did, was it Think Grow Rich?
Yeah,
Like this is all these little micro events that before this year, did we see any of these?
No.
And now like boom.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important, even if it's just a whiteboard video. Help, and it really.
So I had a question about that.
Yeah.
How was the entrepreneurial community a few years ago?
Honestly, I felt it was bare. Like they were entrepreneurs, but they were very
Corporate
We're not corporate, just like introverted. Like I gotta protect myself. You're gonna screw me, and I'm like, I just trying to find people that I could relate with. Not necessarily have a mentor. I've never really looked for a mentor, but just connect with people, And then it was just like, it kind of sucks because we were at WeWork for a while, and this is when our business was really taking off. And we were at like an office of 15 people paying almost $20,000 of rent. That was like brutal, but when we were there, and there's some people that I'm still dear friends with, and we were like, really connected with, but there was a lot of just afraid and a lot of silos and people wanting to be on their own. And it's like, it's unfortunate because Montreal is a very small city when you boil it down, right? Like I can tell you, if I call, just the other day I was with a colleague of mine, we're looking at opening a business together, and we were just sharing notes about what we did last weekend. He's like, oh, I know that guy. I'm like, really? I know that guy. Oh, that guy, he did the teeth for my son. I was like, oh, this guy, this guy did that wasn't, and like, this guy just did hair transplant. We're like, no way, that was, the degrees of separation in Montreal are so small and so few that I think you have no choice but to start, rallying around becoming more of a unified community. So I would say 3 years ago it wasn't really there because there was such a retracted kind of mentality. Now it's far more open.
I mean, it's because of social media.
It's possible, but I think it's also the catalyst, like the Jamies and the Barrels of the world. You have people starting to take the baton, or even the Terry Lindors, where they're starting to galvanize the group and say, like, okay,
let's wake up.
Exactly, let's do something together. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
we're here.
Exactly. And so now, if people are starting to rally, right? You have the mob mentality. Once you have one, you have 100.
Yes.
So I think that now that we have those three pillars, it's really starting to take shape.
So before we go and talk about social media, because that's your expertise, I just want to talk about, because I saw on LinkedIn, because you're talking about Montreal, but the whiteboard just affects somebody international. I think it was on WhatsApp. A guy, he called you to contact him WhatsApp.
Yeah,
and said,
wow, you're good.
Yeah, I want to know that.
Okay.
Because it wasn't in Montreal, it came from another country.
Yeah, so the guy's from Portugal. So, again, I don't remember his name. He's going to kill me if he sees it. I'll put his name in the link below, but, or I'll give you the link to the profile. But so I was at a doctor's appointment, and I had posted a whiteboard video for, I think it was like how to grow, how to grow organically with influencers or something.
Okay.
And he reached out to me and he said, I just finished watching your workshop on Hootsuite, and then I saw your whiteboard video, and I need your help so bad. And it says, I'm a startup. I'm trying to finalize investment for my business, and it was in the medical space. I don't know what to do. I need these doctors, these patients to use it, and it's not happening. So I was like, okay, what's going on? So he started telling me all the analytics of his ads, and I was like, okay, call me. So call me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
And I was at my doctor's office waiting my turn. I was like, so I just started pacing down the hall like a crazy person. This is what I do, right? When I'm on the phone, I pace like crazy. I do like 8 to 10 kilometers just in pacing. So I was talking to them and I was like, well, have you tried this? It's like, right, lower cost per lead. Yeah.
So you were talking about people going to another platforms. Let's talk a little bit about Instagram, specifically about influencers. How can you collaborate with them? Because right now it's the trend, influencers this, influencers that. So how can we collaborate with them? Maybe there's a businessman here, business owner that wants to know how can I get them on my business? How can I collaborate with them?
Well, there's a couple of ways, right? First is how to find them. So
Yeah.
to find them, you can buy a tool or access to a database like Upfluence or Affluence. There's tons of them, right? But they're extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Like just to have access to these platforms, it's like $5,000 a
Yes.
month with a minimum 1-year commitment.
Okay.
I have tried them. I find they're not for me. Like
Yeah.
very, very like politely not for me because I feel
Okay.
I could do a better job just creating my own list.
Yeah.
So then the next thing is, well, I would need to understand what my niche is and who I'm trying to reach, and then I would understand, I would look through hashtags, I would look through geolocations, and I would look through accounts that I like, who are they tagging regularly, who's engaging regularly,
Okay.
right? The next thing I would do is I would analyze what defines an influencer, right? Because I find influencers a very dirty word.
Okay.
I find it's like, how do you measure influence? Is that based because of engagement rate? Because engagement rate can be doctored, right?
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
purchased, it could be forged.
Okay.
So it's really about doing your due diligence, your homework, looking at the comments. There's every comment paid through Fiverr saying, "Oh, nice, DM me for like."
Yeah.
That's not engagement.
That's a robot.
That's a robot. That's crap. It's not a true influencer.
Okay.
So understanding that people who are engaging, are commenting and leaving genuine feedback, genuine happiness or whatnot, those are the ones you want. So I'll give you an example. We did an analysis of, for one client,
Yes.
I think it was 150 celebrity, national, international, macro, micro, nano influencers, which are basically all different classifications of the influencer size
Okay.
and where they are. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
So we analyzed these and we also attribute a price tag to it. So like a Djokovic, right, the tennis player, let's say it costs him $100K just to get a post done with him, right? Because he's got following, he's got brand. So that was like the first thing. Then you have like the international, which could be like a Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Gary Vee, like he's like also celebrity, but like, you know, it would probably cost like $50K, right?
Okay.
And then you have like a national, which could be like a, I don't know, like a Jay Baruchel, right?
Okay.
Or I don't know, like a local Montreal Canadiens player. Like he would be very well recognized in Canada. Maybe it's $20K to
Okay.
work with them, right? Like there's all these pricing guidelines that you can always
Is that
find.
like a one-time fee or?
Usually it's per post or per campaign,
Okay.
right? Some of them say, okay, I'll do 3 posts, so
Yeah.
I'll do a story.
Okay.
I've met some influencers who have like 8 million followers and they'll charge $1,500, but that's just because they don't understand the value,
Yeah,
or
they
they're trying
understand the value.
to, or they're trying to fake it and they know it, right?
Mhm.
So they don't want to charge you too much because they know you'll be pissed.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22, but to collaborate with
Yeah.
them is to identify them first, identify what, you know, the true engagement
Okay.
that is on their page, on their account, and know that on Instagram, anything above a 3% engagement rate is very good. And then from there, say, you know, you reach out to them saying, hey, I want to collaborate with you, I have these products. It has to match their audience,
Yes,
or else
have to match the audience.
you have no choice, right? Or else it just is a square peg round hole, and the audience won't engage. So it's not just that, even if they say yes, if it doesn't line up with their audience, it will work for you.
Okay.
So that's important to understand that overlap and how to make it all kind of mesh together. But then from there, you discuss terms. You do revenue share, it's a percentage of whatever. Do you do transactions? So it's in some people, transaction is cheaper than revenue share,
Yeah.
right? Do you do barter? You know, understand like what your assets are now. You can leverage them, and then from there, you start making campaigns. I would give the influencer a giveaway item to give to his audience,
Yes.
not just a coupon code or a discount, because their audience usually love to get free stuff, and they're happy to give their audience free stuff because that'll increase their own growth, right? So it's a win-win. So to engage in that way is extremely important. But keep in mind, like if I'm a local bar and I go after Carey Price, well, Carey Price really only applies to Montreal.
Yeah.
If I go to a local hotel and I only go after Gary Vaynerchuk, well, that's a misplaced influencer
Yes,
because it's too big for the brand you have, and you won't get what you're looking for. So it's really comes down to identify, validate, and then negotiate,
Yeah.
and then execute.
So on the influencer side, does he need to develop or business skills? Because I'm seeing like they're gonna start. A lot of companies are gonna go and see them, and most of them are just kids. They don't have any business skills, transactions or revenues. So they should start getting like a salesman or something like that.
Yeah.
Business skills.
I think it's as much they should be aware
Yeah.
and educate themselves, but I think it's also an opportunity.
Okay.
Because there are just too many influencers out there that you would really need to start like establishing a culture of, if you want to be an influencer, this is where you go. Like
Yeah.
the Influencer Academy or something.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think that exists, and if
Okay.
it does, well then
It's gonna make a lot of money.
there you go. But can you imagine for the Influencer Academy that if
Yeah.
you can educate the influencer, if it's too complicated, manage it for them and do
Yeah.
it for them,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
and they just take a transaction fee plus
Yeah.
like a retainer just for being part. That's a huge business model that
No one is going on.
nobody's doing it, but also these guys, they just think about it. They're influencers because they love what they do and they're passionate about it. They don't want to think of anything.
Yes.
Right? So it's also the same thing with any business owner.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on my stuff.
Yeah.
And the moment I deviate and I think about that stuff, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And it becomes very transactional, and then you lose the passion, you lose the engagement, you lose the purpose, and it's over. So if someone can, this is literally like a golden nugget here, but like if someone can create that,
Someone is listening to this
There you
podcast.
go.
and like, okay, James,
Yeah,
I'm listening to
there
you.
you go.
Influencer Academy.
yeah,
It's a
but
$1
think
million
about it.
idea, though, but-
More than that.
Yeah.
It's like $1 million weekly idea maybe.
Yeah.
But think about it. There's like, the amount of influencers that are created per year, like almost double.
Yeah.
Every university student, every college, high school student, there are kids that are 12, 13 that are becoming influencers because
Yeah.
they can build Lego faster than anybody, or they can,
E-commerce.
e-commerce, drop
Right.
shipping.
Yeah.
I met a kid, he'd been drop shipping since he was 12.
Yeah.
And he's 18 now, and he
We
made
have
like
a
$8
friend.
million.
We have
I'm
a
like,
friend that spoke at the event, Charles Heckman, and
Yeah.
he started when he was 15. But I wish I was doing that when
there
I
you
was
go.
15.
Yeah, I know Charles. He does like Facebook bots and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was when I was on the phone the other day. He was like, yeah, I was selling like video game stuff. Or,
Yeah,
or,
so the-
I was like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I was selling like my therapeutic art as a canvas, but whatever. But all of these things are just, we're at an age now where
Yeah.
everything is monetizable.
Yeah.
And the accessibility of social media and diffusing your message and getting customers, it's at an all-time high of how easy it is to do it, right? So it becomes like, even when YouTube, think about when YouTube was launched, and
Yeah.
people were like, I'm gonna play video games and make money. Like, that was a thing.
Yeah.
You could make $50,000 a year just playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, I have views and this, that, you don't have to do anything else. That culture is just multiplied by a factor of 100 because of the way Pinterest works, because of now Instagram has like buy now buttons.
Buy
right?
now, yeah.
Like there's so many little tools that make it so accessible. Why wouldn't you, right? So I
Yeah.
think, to a certain point, there needs to be some kind of foundational business
Yes.
skills that are introduced. But at the same time, like I said, some people just aren't business inclined. Some people get taken advantage of or
Okay.
manipulated. So there's an opportunity to standardize it and make it so that every influencer can go through this. And no matter what, it'll always, it'll always be done properly, and they don't have to worry about it.
Cool.
So I have a final question.
Yeah.
It's, what's the future of social media when you know that AI is coming up soon?
Yeah,
Into
virtual
the
reality.
social media, virtual reality.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with AI, that could be on the part of like maybe regulation and or big data analysis. The best thing about AI is that it learns and it grows. So the more that you can have your ads kind of learn on themselves and grow and develop into a better thing, which is basically one of the big elements we have in our conversion matrix. So we've been doing it for 4 years, and that AI really, is the creme de la creme, right? It's what makes the straw that stirs the drink, right? So AI is already very much in social media, and it's kind of growing every year. And all it's been doing is enhancing your own experience on social media, because ultimately they want to keep you on every platform as long as possible.
Yeah.
For virtual reality, I think we're getting very close to it being very easily to integrate. I think what will be a step above that is augmented reality.
Yes.
Because virtual implies tech, it implies wearables. I think there's going to be a high degree of resistance just because not everybody's going to want to buy. You're going to have hardcore gamers, you can have the techies, but you're not going to have the mom and dads or the everydays. But the augmented reality could be you hold your phone and there's a Facebook ad and it says, well, if you hold your phone against that thing, you watch an ad that is projected onto your wall, and then voila, it's an IKEA commercial that shows you a chair that you can buy right now.
Okay.
That is next level. That is like engagement and experience-based marketing that is projected into your real in your real environment.
I
And
know, yeah.
I think that's the next thing, and holograms I think will come very soon.
So I saw something at Startup Fest where they had their phone and they were like in a store and he would go like this and you would see like the price tag
Yeah.
on his phone and just like, okay, you're cool.
Well,
So-
you know, there's boutique hotels. Like if you go there, you know you like the couch you're sitting on, you open up their app, you pull the phone over the couch, and it says, "Boop, this you can get this Swiss soup for like $7.99." And then do you want to buy it now and have it shipped to your house so it's there when you get there? Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know, like this already has existed for a while, but I think it's just integrating into social is the next step,
Yeah.
right? So you're kind of seeing a little bit of it now with Instagram influencers. You know, like a lot of bikini,
Yeah.
you know, or a lot
Product
of like,
placement.
yeah, like a lot of apparel stuff.
Yeah.
You know, shoes, like they're wearing, they're running, you know, or they have these videos where, or it's a cinematograph or something, and you see like the products are highlighted can be purchased within the actual ad placement itself, or within the actual video or the image, and I think that's in a sense a micro version of augmented reality, and I think it's just going to get more and more immersed with our own perspective, and we're going to start to see the blurred lines of the two. Where now, you know, if I like what someone's wearing, I'm gonna have an app that I'll just pull up and poof, take a picture of their shoes, and then voila, I have the where it came from. Do I want to order it on Amazon? Do I want it tomorrow with Prime? Right? Like I give an example. My girlfriend, she was looking at these pair of shoes that this person had in Barcelona, and she's like, "Oh, I love them. Where are they from?" I spent like 5 minutes just to try and find them. Found them in the store. Boom, 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 done. But imagine if you had an app that just said, "I love your shoes. Can I take a picture?" Yeah. Okay. Boom. Oh, it's at this place, and it's 5 minutes away from you by car, by cab, or 20-minute walk. And actually, if you want it delivered to your house, well, this is how much it costs. And so like all these things can be automated and facilitated very easily with now apps and with the way you can just integrate with your everyday objects. And I think that's the next step.
Is the online offline connection, the online offline?
Yeah, I mean it's also a bit of the Internet of Things too. Like now you have smart homes and you have like fridges that can tell you, "Hey, you're low on milk. Order you some milk." You're like,
Sure.
"Thank you, fridge." Like, but all of these things are slowly coming together, and it's really there's one common theme: speed.
Yes.
Speed, almost immediacy. So I think until we get to that point where it's just we think it and it's there, I think that's eventually where we're going.
Cool. Hey, it was a great podcast.
It's over?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we like scattered, but really appreciate your time.
My
And
pleasure.
Antoine too. It was a great podcast, a lot of fun, a lot of information. I hope you guys like it. So we are gonna put all the links. You can contact James, and this is it for the Road to That Hugo and Antoine Airoldi Show. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, you guys like
a lot
that?
of fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Go ahead, Finn. Put your name. Good. All right, let's take this picture.